I watched Tyrese on the Breakfast Club, and then I watched Tyrese on the $1 Million a Game podcast, and it was a whole different vibe between the two of them. But every time Tyrese is on the Breakfast Club, I watch because you don't know where it's going. And I didn't know that he was banned, and then at the last second, DJ Envy was like, all right, they had a talk before he went on. From what Tyrese says, he said he recorded at 9:30 in the morning, and up until 9 a.m. he did not know if he was going on the Breakfast Club. But it was a very, very interesting podcast. I didn't know Tyrese lot. You don't realize what people are going through. Like, I didn't realize all the loss that has happened in the guy's life. His mother. I mean, we're all gonna. You hit a certain age, like once you're over 40, you hear about people losing their mom a lot, passing away. So that just comes with age, And he lost his mom. Of course, we all know Paul Walker. He lost his sister, one or two. He's had a lot of loss in his life. John Singleton. And then Tyrese even said went through a divorce, which it's somewhat like a death. When you go through a divorce, it's like a part of you dies because your life is just flipped upside down. And so I didn't realize. And obviously me and Tyrese in the past haven't seen eye to eye because I went in on him on Twitter a couple of times. This is when Twitter first happened and everybody was popping off on Twitter. And I've talked about that at length in the past. And my issue was always with Tyrese was when I was jonesing on him and stuff, I always felt like he didn't want me jonesing on him because he felt like how dare I talk about him? Because I feel like the stuff I said, if Kevin Hart or Dave Chappelle or Chris Rock would have said it, he would have let it go. Because I said it, he didn't want to let it go. So I thought he was picking and choosing an argument where there really didn't be one. I was kidding. And that's what we do. That's what we do as comedians. We pick on people. It's kind of like a rap battle a little bit. But, but other than that, like, if you haven't seen it, I would watch it. It's pretty interesting. And Tyrese definitely has chemistry with Charlamagne, even though they go back and forth. And it's like I think Tyrese went from, I wasn't feeling Charlamagne. I didn't like how he was coming at me. And then now I think Charlamagne's like, and Tyrese have built up enough rapport with each other and enough respect with each other that, Charlamagne can go in on him a lot. But there was a moment in not the podcast, but the radio show, the morning show, where Charlamagne was just like, Tyrese was talking about his divorce and his projects and his singing a national anthem and stuff. And then Charlamagne just goes, man, you've had a lot of loss in your life, man. And he really held him accountable to responding. I don't want to say accountable. He just made him not let him off the hook. Like, it reminded me of like Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting when he had Matt Damon. He kept saying, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Like, Charlamagne just was going at Tyrese just like, you've had a lot of loss, man. You've lost your mother, John Singleton, and Tyrese would commit a divorce, your sisters, like, just naming off all these people that he's lost in his life over the last 10 plus years. And Tyrese just kind of lost it, got emotional for a second. And for me, like, I never think there's no coming back from nothing. Honestly, I would love at one point to just sit down and talk with Tyrese. I think he's an interesting guy. I think he's a talented guy. He holds his emotions for everyone to see. And, I've always wanted to sit down and just talk with them go over why there was tension between us. And, because I think it's all you need to do nowadays. Just you got to have a discussion. Just got to talk to people. But I saw Tyrese after the Breakfast Club interview. Then he went and Tyrese loves social media. He puts everything out there. But he talked about it and he said, I had a good time on the Breakfast Club. I got to open up. He goes, and then to the young lady that was filling in for Jess Hilarious, you kept interrupting me. And it's funny when he said that Because when I was watching it, I kept thinking she kept interrupting him. I was like, why she got to just relax? Listen, when somebody is bearing their soul, and I got to work on this too. Like I watched me interviewing Nate on my podcast, and I thought, man, I'm talking too much. I did it like 2 years ago with Kev on Stage. I had him on my podcast a few years ago, and I found myself telling more stories about myself than him. But when comedians get together and we start swapping road stories and stuff, they just start coming, and you don't realize, like, when you get two comedians together and they talk for an hour, one time they talk, one comedian could be talking for 45 and the other one's talking for 15. The next time they talk, it's reversed, depending on how juicy the story is. That's what we do. We're storytellers. So I caught a couple people make comments, and I go, man, I was talking a lot, and I didn't realize it till I watched it back. So like I said, I'm a work in progress, but I do know enough that when somebody's spilling their soul and really opening up, you don't have to constantly just chime in with, oh man, really? God. Ooh. She just kept chiming in. This is not a knock on her. I mean, as far as like as a person or a journalist or a radio host, most of the time I still watch The Breakfast Club, and I enjoy. I should get her name. This is almost disrespectful for me not to even say her name, because I don't want it to come back that I was talking about somebody's back. Breakfast Club. Fill in for Jess. Okay, that didn't help. That didn't help at all. Breakfast Club, fill in for Jess. Hilarious. Why would it do that? You gotta be kidding me. Okay, here it is. The Breakfast Club. Where's she at? I'm listening to. Who is? Okay, she said her out the bat. Here we go. We got a special guest in the building. Tyrese. Good brother Tyrese Gibbs. Tyrese is here. Good morning, sir. It's funny now, man. Other than your gray beard, man. I'm letting it grow. I don't know if you guys can hear this. It's funny. I bet you won't let your facial hair grow. You fucking right. Come on, show. What's her name? This is the hardest I've ever looked for a name in my life. But I definitely tried to get into my implant game, and it. Wake that ass up in the morning. The Breakfast Club. Morning, everybody. It's JM. Just hilarious. Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. Lauren LaRosa is holding it down. Okay, that's all I was trying to look for. Lauren LaRosa. Just so you know, in the future, and I've been guilty of it too. Just let people talk. Especially when Tyrese started to cry a little bit and he was really opening up emotionally, she kept saying like, oh, Tyrese, you're going to mess up my makeup. Tyrese, you're going to make me cry. I'm like, yo, just, you got to let that moment and marinate in it and just let him talk, because, and is when I'm listening to people, whether I'm on the radio, watch on YouTube or a TV show, when somebody visually is opening up and they're starting to get emotional, just let them sit in that. Because as soon as you chime in, it breaks. Like, I wanted to hear what Tyrese is going to say next. I wanted to, just feel what he was feeling in that moment. And then she kept chiming in. I was like, oh my God, you're breaking it up too much. And I think Tyrese felt it, and he was being polite. But when he got done, he was like, you could tell, man. And there's sometimes like comedy's about timing. And you don't need to chime in with a joke. And I will say, Charlamagne is not a comedian, but his timing is unbelievable on the radio. As a guy that's been done radio, been guests on radio show and everything, when you go to Breakfast Club, and the reason it does so well, Charlamagne knows how to set the room, how to set the tone. And he just has impeccable timing as when to bring it down, when to break the tension with a joke. to really hold people to the fire. Like, no, you want to answer this. So when he did that to Tyrese, I was like, this is just Charlamagne being Charlamagne. That's why he is who he is. I didn't like Charlamagne when I first heard him on Wendy Williams back in the day. I thought, oh, this guy's just a troll. He's just a dick. And then as I started going to the Breakfast Club and as I got to know him over the years, he's really a solid individual. Good dude. Wants everybody to win. There's no jealousy. He's solid. So's Envy. So's Jess. So's Angela Yee, the old co-host. Like, I enjoy that whole podcast. But yeah, to the young lady filling in for Jess, yeah, just don't. It's okay to have constructive criticism, and if you do hear this, don't be like, "Oh, Gary was going in." No, I want you to succeed. So, just like I'm telling myself, I'm hypocritical of myself. Like, I was talking too much when I had Nate on, but then I did Nate's podcast, and we had a better back and forth. I thought I wasn't talking as much on his, which is funny. He's a guest on mine, and I'm talking a lot. Then when I was a guest on his, I felt like it was more 50-50. So, yeah,